Mega viele gute Jobs.
being a little humble, but he actually negotiated that back in 2017. We're on our third contract. What is that? 7 years, almost 8, and it's amazing how we've grown and this is obviously Frankfurt, so it's Germany, but it's amazing how the community has come out and embraced. And part of that video showed how we integrated our advertising because there's such emotion, to your point. There's so much emotion. We've actually integrated the players into our advertising, into our social, into our hospitality and events that still drives quality leads and ultimately revenue from a business outcome standpoint. It's fabulous. We love it. Well, and that it goes back to what your intentional strategy is. Your vision strategy led you to vetting that opportunity with iAttract. You had your eye on that for a little while as a growing brand as well. So tell us a little bit more about what interested you in developing that global partnership with them specifically.
Yeah, so the backdrop is we've been quite a preeminent brand in the US, UK, and Canada for over a decade. But when we entered Germany, we were pretty nascent, very low awareness, very low consideration. We kept trying to chip away at that through traditional paid advertising. It was really hard, and actually some of the research we did found that German consumers are naturally a little skeptical of entrance into the market of new brands. So the whole approach with partnering with a really powerful platform like AccuWeather, which is one of the biggest soccer clubs in Germany, was to be really at the heart of culture, where attention lies, to Carmen's point, and to basically have like a home base in Germany where we can do all kinds of B2B activations, as well as drive consumer metrics. So for us it was like additive to the classic brand marketing we were already doing, but we needed like a multiplier, like a force multiplier effect. So the whole approach was to drive awareness, consideration, and usage amongst consumers, job seekers in Germany. We vetted a lot of different ways to do that, and what we saw on iAttract was a partnership that was at a good price point. We felt they were undervalued relative to the trajectory of the club. And yeah, we signed a multi-year contract, and as it happened, they actually won the domestic cup. They beat the club in German Bayern Munich in the final a year later, and then they won a large European trophy 4 years later. So our analytics and our analysis of their trajectory, frankly, did come off correctly, and that's a bet that's hard to make. But a number of people that we spoke about just how important analytics, trying to predict and forecast what the reach and the engagement is going to be in the platform in 2 or 3 years' time, not just at the point of buying. So for us, it just started with a blank slate, like how we grow, strengthen our brand in Germany. We go into that strategic challenge with the thought that sports has to be the answer, but as Carmen said, in a lot of our briefs, we find that whether it's paid or partnerships, sport has been incredibly valuable for us as a streaming choice.
I was just going to add too, we're also, as a tech company, obviously data-driven, and we're actually looking at, I know Moneyball has come up here many times today already, and there is a football club in the UK that we're actually looking at right now doing a sponsorship with, because the way that they actually pick their players is through data and analytics. So it's something that we're trying to lean into. They're very small, but hopefully with this data and analytic approach to picking players, we'll be able to kind of work with them and create whatever the next contract framework is. You talked about your the data and the analytics beyond the jersey that you guys have developed a partnership. It was how to engage audiences and the fans at the stadiums, but then digitally extend beyond. And you talked to me before about positivity you have in your messaging tied to getting jobs and supporting and being positive that way with positivity of sports. Tell us a little bit more about the timing of sports partnerships like these when you worked with the NBA and obviously the Premier League. The timing is everything with contracts that are booked years in advance. So timing and having those conversations at the right time, there's kind of a sliding door when the framework of decisiveness has to be ready to go.
Yeah, I think you have to look at things long range and know that when it comes to professional sports clubs, they're going to have multi-year fixed contracts, and there's going to be a window where they're renegotiating or opening for new partnerships. You have to think about when different entities and platforms are available. Plan ahead. Sometimes you want to get into a partnership with a platform that's not going to be available for that particular time. You can build multi-year planning, we have a 3-5-year strategy. So we try to think ahead about, as Carmen said, what are the new partnerships and properties we want to entertain and investigate, because there's last-minute decisions, both financially and negotiation, to re-up the contract that starts like 9-10 months before it goes public. You're too late to the party. So there are obviously marketing channels where you can be super agile, like SEM, some of the influencer world, but when it comes to these really big plays and big bets, it's a reflection of your long-term planning, and when you start thinking about where you want to be in 2 to 3 years' time. So for us, we always wanted a long-term bet in Germany, and our contract at a minimum is going to be a 3-year relationship, and that's intentional in a way. It's an expression to the marketplace to the German clients. We're going to be in this country for a while, we're not going anywhere, we're authentically going to be as a company. So, yeah, I think to your question, it's about long-term planning, it's about analysing the landscape. We have great agency partners who help us understand what's available, where the synergy and work relations are, where the brands and
I'll also add, as someone that has a media background, that many times in full integration you just can't do, right? Someone's blocked you out, or it's too expensive, or the timing isn't right. So we've also created things around the sports events. So if anyone watched the World Series, hopefully you saw our player resume feature in it. That's kind of our ongoing franchise as part of the MLB. Another example is there's not that many females. We talk about women's sports. There's not that many female commentators, so we actually partnered with a network, tied in our brand indeed to help network find their next female commentator recruitment need. So even if you can't do something from an integrated standpoint, you can always do features and adjacencies and create franchise even without your full integration.
I think that's a great lead into when you're talking about your player resume. It was really cool how we've had the success behind the connection of TV to your social and to your digital. I find it interesting too that when we capture World Series viewers at the right time, like dynamically created. So you talk about being a technology and data company and working with Adobe on that. Tell us a little bit more about that, like the specific ways that you tap into what audiences we're doing in real time and how we relate as a fact that it's going to be mostly authentic.
I mean, a lot of that is social listening and understanding what the conversations are and actually putting out a really relevant social post that's going to capture it. But I would also say now with AI, there's a lot of versioning that's happening. So we think about the different audiences and the use of first-party data and being able to really understand what the barriers to entry are or the motivational drivers are. You can actually then, put together a framework, and before you know it, open your eyes and have cleared at. So it really is a way now where we can be most relevant to any audience in any given channel. But it really does start with social listening and making sure that we're kind of embedded in culture and taking advantage of that.
And the contextual alignment too, I think, was really important for you guys there too, as far as, as things were happening in real time, you were responsive, which also leads to the authenticity. And you were listening, you were delivering the right message at the right time. That too was extremely successful for you guys as far as government return for you guys 2 times was with a lot of your sports messaging. And also, I think your World Series player resume, it drove like 500,000 website visitors. guys see that you're doing as far as the messaging goes when you're aligning it properly with those different partnerships? What is the messaging that you're telling your audiences?
Well, we obviously have a big brand framework that we work. Our platform is better work leads to better lives, and under that, obviously, our pillars. And we make sure any feature that we do, whether like product, like a resume with our resume product. So it's a combination of the value message that we want to get out, and or the product message that we want to get out. So it starts with treating our media partners as partners, not vendors. And I see some of them in the house tonight, so hopefully that they're today and like tonight, that hopefully they will support including you. But it's how do you reach a media partner in a way that they're going to understand your brand as well as you do? Because when that happens, when you go in as a partner, then that's when the magic happens. Versus send an email over an RFP with no discussion, don't get any type of magic back. But when you're doing it together, then that's what happens.
Well, when you talk about working with the different sports teams or the specific partnership, you're talking to a specific audience that is watching games in real time, those types of things. But to amplify that media authentically and work with the right partners and have the partnership to expand it. Are you guys looking in the future? Is there anything upcoming that you guys are most interested in, or you see trends in sports or specific partnerships? We talked before about partnering with women athletes, equality and schools, things like that. Is there anything that you have your eye on in the future that you think you might be looking into?
Yeah, I mean, a number of speakers already talked about this, but there's like a clear upswing in the attention and viewership around it's also what we can do. So I think for us, we see that trend, we want to participate to be aligned with us as a brand, that we stand for as well. So that's one piece. And also, I think there's just like globally lots of interesting trends, whether it's like consolidation, like rich getting rich, whether it's cricket in India, soccer in continental Europe. There just seems to be actually more consolidation and visibility around that. I think just the landscape of consumption is more fragmented, so people can follow what would have historically been considered niche sports. They can follow them online in a very intensive way, which was possible 10, 20 years ago. So there's lots of opportunities for us to think about like a segmented approach. Maybe there's certain types of segments that are particularly supported or rapidly. But yeah, I think we look at it by country basis, because there's very different trends. Like I mentioned Germany. Germany just has this very interesting situation where it doesn't have the competition between four or so major leagues that we have in the US. It's just basically soccer is number one, and then like basketball's a bit distant second in visibility. So it's important to look at the landscape of different markets. But yeah, I mean, what's exciting is just there's more ways for fans to interact with sports, whether it's college or professional. And I think there's also limited ways you can comment social.
And I just add the other great answer, and I would just add that esports is something that we're looking at in a big way, in gaming, of course, as we kind of go into FY25.
Very good trend, very good trend. I think the final thing is we wrap up and get ready for lunch. Is when you're talking about indie, clearly you're still finding innovative new ways. You're the number one job site in the world, and there's a continuous challenge of making sure that you're reaching the right people at the right time through these sports partnerships, sports messages. Globally and in the United States, when you're talking about trying to make sure that you're speaking to them in an authentic way, what's relevant for them will resonate with them. What are some other trends that you're seeing, or some other ways that messaging here in the States or versus messaging across the globe and in Europe that are different for you guys and you have to be strategic?
That's a great question. In fact, we're just coming off, we're launching a new brand campaign in January, and we actually do production in the U.S. and we also do local why we're doing it today. But in the, we work a lot with local marketing teams, and they were like, oh, it's too American. And we were like, you know what, you are right, it's not working. We can see it in our data. Even from like when we did this one commercial that had like it was a breakfast plate. There was like food on a plate. Anyway, whatever. But we got in big trouble because it did not have a baguette on it on the French version. And so you get inducted very early to these country marketing teams. But we've learned together, and so now we are very localized in all of our ads.
And I think there's like overarching things too. Like we've been very intentional about leaning into like opportunity and celebration in job search. Like we have competitors who are leaning into like, I hate my job, I hate Sunday nights, like get a new job, like that kind of device. And we've always looked to our area and thought, okay, what about the opportunity in your career? What are your ambitions? How do you fulfill them in your next job, in your career path? And that moment of celebration is such an easy bridge to make with the celebration, the journey that sports people go through, that teams go through. So there's like almost that unconscious link that's really important for us, and just a sort of natural, positive story that we can tell.
And the positivity goes back to that too, where you're with them along the entire journey. So you're with them while they're training for the marathon or preparing for the big game, that type of thing. And then on the other side, in the celebration as well. Once you meet your goal and they find their dream job, so that's fantastic. And all of us consumers and everyone who absorbs any type of media, video, etc., when the message is authentic or when it's speaking to you individually, and that's so much more effective and impactful. And this is trial and error all the time. Well, that's excellent. Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate you guys today and sharing your stories with us. And congratulations again on the opportunity in Frankfurt again. Yeah, thank you.